Introduction. Why you need to lose the weights on your mind, body, and spirit. If this book caught your interest, I hope it was because the title intrigued you. Maybe you asked yourself this question after reading the title. What do you mean to lose the weight on your mind, body, and spirit? You might have been searching for a book to help you lose some body weight, and now wonder to yourself, I also have to lose weight in my mind and spirit? When I started my journey to lose body weight, I discovered that overeating was just one of the many things that had to change in my life. I was also experiencing many negative habits and emotional states that were blocking me from feeling truly content and happy. I wrote this book not only for someone who wants to lose physical body weight, but for anyone that has negative thoughts, feelings, and actions that they want to remove from their life. If you have health issues that you want to heal from, reading this book will open your eyes to see how you can achieve these health goals. If you constantly feel like you are stuck in your life and you are burdened with daily feelings of fear, anxiety, and stress, you will learn that you have the power to release these negative burdens. This book is all about change. The chapters in this book will help you to see how to remove emotional and physical weights in your life. I will show you the steps to release these emotional burdens and how to express your true self. When you lift these weights, you will learn to live a life of passion and purpose. The title of this book is designed to make you aware that you may be carrying weights or burdens in your life that hold you down or stop you from so many things you want in life, like losing body weight, living a healthier life, changing a negative habit, or having deep and loving relationships. These weights affect your mind, body, and spirit. You may be familiar with these weights to some extent, commonly referred to as the baggage that you carry around in your everyday life. You can also call these weights the issues that define you and that seem to follow you everywhere you go. These weights also reveal themselves in the ways you think and how you act. These weights are expressed in the emotions that cause you to do everything negative you find yourself doing and seem to have no control of. I did not see that being physically overweight was just a reflection of the weights I was carrying on my mind and spirit. The extra pounds I was carrying on my body was just an external symptom of other more serious weights on my mind and spirit. I was lugging around the burdens of these mental and emotional weights in my everyday life, which in turn caused me physical weight gains with both emotional and physical sickness and pains. Before you can lose these weights, you first need to understand what these weights are and how they keep a hold on you. These weights affect your mind, dictating the way you think and how you feel about yourself, your life, and the world around you. Your body reflects these weights that you carry on your mind, and it shows up in your physical appearance, your physical health, and well-being. These weights also hold your spirit down and stops you from being and expressing your true self and core personality. I thought my only problem was that I was overweight in my body. I believed if I just lost those extra pounds on my body, that all my other problems would be resolved. I finally accepted after so many years of failing to lose those extra pounds that I had to do some emotional work first. This work had to start in my mind. I believe that the weights you carry on your mind must be healed first. Then and only then can you fully remove the other weights that exist in the body you live in and in the spirit you exude. Maybe you can relate with my story about losing weight on my body. It's January 1st, and you want to make a New Year's resolution to finally lose all those extra pounds you have been carrying. Maybe you look at a photo of yourself taken at some function, and the image of you in that picture makes you look huge. You know that pictures can make you look bigger than in real life, but this is ridiculous. You look in the mirror and it's not an optical illusion. You can see all the weight you need to lose. You are fully aware that you must make the commitment to lose the weight now. But if your experience has been like mine, you start on a new diet or an exercise plan, and before you see any benefits or any results, you quit. I found it too hard to lose the weight, not only physically, but also mentally. I found it more emotionally painful to try to lose these mental and spiritual burdens than to be physically overweight. This is when I realized that there was more going on that both dieting and exercise could fix. I felt like I was on a self-destructive cycle that I was willingly partaking in. I wanted to lose the weight, but I continuously gave in to the pull that kept me overeating. My day-to-day diet felt normal to me, and I felt like all the food that I was eating was exactly what my body needed. As I gained more weight each year, I could see and feel all the consequences of my overeating, which did not feel normal. I knew that my feelings and emotions were part of my physical weight problem. I read what doctors or weight management experts said. Emotional eating was part of the problem. I even knew most of the emotions that triggered me to overeat. It seemed that when people talk about emotional eating, all they do is help you to identify that you are an emotional eater. I knew that I overate when I felt stressed, fearful, or sad. I also saw that I overate when I was happy and celebrating. The experts talk about strategies to help you when you are overeating due to emotions. They make suggestions like keeping a food journal, buying only healthy foods, and using meditation to try to control your eating habits. These suggestions helped me only so far, and I already instinctively knew I was overeating because of negative emotions. I kept asking myself, why don't they talk about how to remove the emotions that kept me in this cycle? I realized that dealing with my emotions was a much heavier weight than the extra pounds on my body. My emotions kept me in a state of sadness and depression. I felt the sadness before I ate, followed by the guilt and shame after binging. These feelings of sadness, shame, and guilt felt much heavier and were much more of a burden to carry than the physical state of being physically overweight. The food at least allowed me to feel some type of temporary pleasure and control. I also saw this pattern in other areas in my life. I had a lot of other negative and uncontrollable emotions that were not fully related to my eating habits, but kept me from living the life I really wanted. By now you can see this is where the title of my book comes in. I carried weights in other areas of my life that were holding me down. The extra weight on my body was just a reflection of that weight, the many burdens I was carrying on my mind. I came to the realization that if my mind is weighed down with negative thoughts and feelings, how will I ever be successful in making the right decisions to make the necessary changes I needed to feel free from these emotional burdens? I have found from my own experiences that you cannot start to lose the weight in one place until you start to lose the weight in other areas. In other more direct words, I had to lose the weights, the burdens, the baggage I was carrying on my mind first before I could lose the physical weight on my body to then free my spirit. If the physical weight on my body reflected the weights I was carrying on my mind and spirit, I thought to myself, maybe there are other things in my life that are also after effects and symptoms of having weights on my mind, body, and spirit. I started to think that maybe the feelings of unhappiness, low self-esteem, lack of joy, and passion were also a reflection of mental weights that I was carrying. When I accepted this realization, I opened the door to a journey that would change my life forever. I started to examine my life and the experiences that shaped it. I knew that I had a lot of things to change, and that the key to making these changes was to identify the weights that were preventing or slowing down the necessary changes. This book is a memoir of my journey to make those changes. This book is for anyone who feels the weights they are carrying that prevent them from having a happy and healthy life. Is this you? Do you have things in your life you want to change, but feel powerless to do so? Maybe the weight you are carrying is not reflected by overeating. Maybe it's some habit or negative emotion or destructive relationship that keeps you in the same negative cycle that you just can't seem to break. I also had daily negative emotions and mental states that kept me feeling fearful, anxious, and powerless to change my life for the better. I felt stuck with no control to make changes in my life. My daily experience was that life was just pulling me from one bad event to another. Each year, I got more depressed and physically ill. I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and high blood pressure. I experienced a constant lack of energy and chronic fatigue. I ultimately crashed mentally and physically, realizing I had to remove these burdens from my life. When I started to examine my life, I found I had many weights on my mind, body, and spirit. What are some examples of the weights of the mind, body, and spirit? This list gives examples of weights on the mind, body, and spirit. The mind: constant negative thoughts, constant negative emotions, gripping fear, uncontrollable anger, daily anxiety, lack of mental presence, always worrying about future events. A list of weights on the body are overweight, underweight, sickness, pains, disease, addictions, always feeling tired. Here's a list of the weights of the spirit: emotionally shut down, low self-esteem, pessimism, depression, feelings of guilt, ashamed of who you are, being judgmental. The mind, body, and spirit that you have are intertwined. They are team members, and they can share some of the same weights. Some weights are held mostly in one of these members. The mind, body, and spirit can either work together or fight each other. When one suffers, they all suffer. When one is strong, it can help the weak. When one is in pain or sick, it will make the other members sick as well. They have a special relationship that must be cared for. When the three are balanced, it's a beautiful relationship and a healthy friendship. When you have this kind of relationship in you, it shows up as a balanced life with passion and health, with nothing holding you back from being your true self. The goal of this book is to help you create a balanced and healthy mind, body, and spirit relationship. There is a chapter dedicated to each of these members and how they work together. So let me ask you these questions. What are the weights in your life that are holding you down? What emotional or physical burdens are you carrying around with you every day? What emotional issues are you tired of experiencing in your life? Are you ready to make changes in your life? These are the questions I had to ask myself before I started my journey to change my life and lose the weights on my mind, body, and spirit. This book talks about all the things I learned and became aware of to make the changes I needed in my life. When I started my journey to change my life, I started to journal my thoughts and made to-do lists. As I was discovering my process to free myself of these weights, I used my writings as a guide and a reminder of the work I had to do to make the changes that would free me once and for all. As these weights started to lift off my mind, I felt the drastic effects on my body and spirit. I felt a sense of freedom and an openness that for the first time in my life allowed me to let the wings of my spirit flap and soon start to fly and express itself. My desire is that as you read my story, you will attain the awareness of what changing your life really looks like. I hope my journey will inspire you to start your own journey to lose the weights on your mind, body, and spirit. Let me begin by telling you what I learned about what it really means to change your life.